the way I would.
What's going on, guys? Greek Freak here, and in this video we're going to be talking about a more crazy as far as trade rumor. Now these are very difficult to predict, but a 3-team trade to move Andre Drummond to the Golden State Warriors and to send D'Angelo Russell to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, whenever we think about something like this, now you maybe have seen even some about this. It's very difficult to, of course, predict a 3-team trade due to the interest that has to go around for each team that goes in there. Now, of course, with that third team, it's going to be the Detroit Pistons, and they would end up getting a few smaller pieces. Now, if you look at Andre Drummond's stats, we're looking at about almost 20 points per game, at this point, leading the league in 16.8 rebounds per game. And then we're talking about 3 assists, 1.8 steals, and 2.2 blocks, shooting 55% from the field. So whenever we're looking at this, we're looking at a big man, of course, that's always been one of the better rebounders in this league, trying to get his 3rd straight rebounding title in the NBA again, and his 4th overall. So whenever we're looking at this, and of course averaging a career high in 19 points per game for right now, almost 20. And then of course we know the fact that he's a very versatile big as far as his way of playing defense, as he's going pretty good with steals and blocks. So we're looking at somebody who's an athletic big who can actually go around and move things such as that, and that's how he, of course, is one of the most prolific rebounders in the league right now. So of course, whenever we're looking at something like this, of course, I made a video surrounding the fact that Andre Drummond is going to look around. He's going to look, and that the max contract doesn't really mean anything for him as far as to sign it just for the money. So if you hear that, that's an instant red flag if you are the Detroit Pistons. And of course, a situation like this, I mentioned, if the Detroit Pistons do not look to be doing good, expect to hear the rumors, expect to see trades, especially between him and Blake Griffin. And I'm going to be making a video on that tomorrow as far as some rumors that are going around with that. Now, as far as Andre Drummond, though, we know the fact that he's on his last year of his deal, so this could easily be a situation that they are going to have to move somebody like this, where somebody like Blake Griffin, for an example, is somebody I think they should trade just due to the fact his trade value is probably at the highest it's been in years, considering the fact of his injuries, and of course him coming off of one just last year. But of course, with the season that he had last season, you have to try to see what you can do with that. With Andre Drummond, you're at the last second situation. You have a chance that he could walk and you get nothing in return, and that is always the worst sign for an NBA team. So of course, when we're looking at something like this, a 3-team trade here would make plenty of sense. So for the Golden State Warriors, why would they want Andre Drummond? Obviously, like I mentioned with D'Angelo Russell in my previous video not long ago, is the fact that they really didn't need somebody like D'Angelo Russell due to the fact they have 2 of the best guards in the league in Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. So in this situation, we knew the fact that D'Angelo Russell was most likely a rental type player. And one thing that we've been noticing even with their team when they did have Curry, D'Angelo Russell, and Draymond Green was they have lost their defense. They are not one of the best defensive teams. And somebody like Drummond can add defense, add rebounding, add size to a team that's really lost all of that. Now, of course, on the D'Angelo Russell side of things, we're looking, of course, once again at his stats, which are just improving even more now that Stephen Curry is no longer taking up even more of the shots and he's getting more control of the games. Now, of course, he's averaging 25.7 points per game, 6.7 assists, 3.8 rebounds, shooting 37% from the 3-point line. So, of course, as we all know, D'Angelo Russell, one of the rumors that went around whenever we thought he was going to be traded from the Brooklyn Nets last season was going to be, of course, one of those teams being the Minnesota Timberwolves. And a very obvious reason why the Minnesota Timberwolves makes plenty of sense, because of the fact of their lack of a point guard position. We know the fact that they've been searching for years for that number 1 type of guy that can really control the basketball. And of course, you're talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves in a team that has always been looked up as one of the type of teams that has very nice young talent in Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. Now, many people thought the fact that Andrew Wiggins has very much disappointed from that number 1 spot and has really turned into Karl-Anthony Towns, especially when Jimmy Butler was there taking over the realms as far as being that number 1 person, it even seemed, and it looked like Andrew Wiggins was that number 3 person that many people, of course, didn't see when he was coming out of college. So whenever we look at something like this, it makes plenty of sense to try to imagine that they're going to look for a point guard, and this is of course the best point guard that is clearly available out there right now. And with this situation, of course, like I mentioned, I think the fact that if you have these types of trades here, it makes plenty of sense. Of course, Detroit wants to get something out of Andre Drummond instead of just letting him walk, especially when they're not having a great season. And one thing goes wrong, you're having him walk out of there with nothing. You know the fact that somebody like Andre Drummond with his talent wants to be on a championship contending team, or at least somewhere different. Now, of course, whenever you're Golden State, you believe the fact that you can maintain somebody like Andre Drummond, considering the fact that your players will most likely be coming back from injury and be one of the top teams again in the Western Conference. Now, of course, when you're Minnesota, you're talking about you're expecting the fact that this point guard is going to definitely be good. We see the fact that it wasn't a fluke year last year. So we're going to have to see as far as that. I see all the reasons for a 3-team trade in those teams. But, of course, 3-team trades are very difficult to go by. And, guys, I always want to know from you guys, do you think the fact that Andre Drummond is going to be traded this season? Or do you think the fact that he's going to leave and they're going to take that chance? Or do you think he'll stay with the Detroit Pistons no matter what? So tell me what your guys' thoughts are on that. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure that you guys leave a like and subscribe to Power of the Great Economy today. And as always, this is Sparta.